Hey, everybody, good morning. Happy Wednesday, hump day, May 22nd. It's the Plant-Based Morning Show. We're brought to you by Compliment. That's lovecompliment.com. Makers of all kinds of processed garbage, according to the carnivore trolls who like to get into the YouTube comments. Anyway, we got Plantapalooza going on, right, Doug?
That's right. Plantapalooza Day
Take it from
2
here,
is
Doug.
underway. On the content side, we have Rip Esselstyn today.
Look at that.
One of my favorite plant-based
Big name.
personalities.
Yep.
Big name, full of heart, full of energy for living a whole food plant-based lifestyle.
Curious.
And also we're talking to Darren Kandow, who is our who is the leading researcher, the world's leading researcher in creatine. And as we have, if you follow Compliment for the last few months, we've been talking a lot about creatine because of all the new research that's coming out on the importance of it, especially for those who are eating a plant-based diet and don't get it through food. Importance of it for longevity, not just for muscle building or looking shredded like I do in this particular shirt. So we're actually going live with a webinar for him. So if you're listening to this live, it starts in 1 hour immediately following this, and I hope you can join us. If not, you can still sign up for Plantapalooza and watch the replay. But most of all, even better than Rip Esselstyn and Darren Kandow, Dr. Darren Kandow, is up to 50% off site-wide, 25% off pretty much everything, 30% off bundles, 50% off complement protein, chocolate protein. Now's your chance to stock up and save big. Go to lovecompliment.com, who is not just a sponsor of the show, although they are our sponsor, yes, but they're our products.
Yeah, I mean, they are the show. We are Compliment. We are them and they are us. It's all the same. All right, good. Yeah, so let's see. I don't know what's happened since yesterday, Doug. We got some YouTube comments, a bunch actually, and I think there might have been a couple trolls, but not many. It was mostly just supportive, good things. So comments are starting to blow up, relatively speaking. It's still only a handful per episode, but it's something, and it's good. So thank you, people who are doing that. It is very nice. What I mean is going and commenting on the YouTube post after we're done, not just the comments live in the YouTube chat box, which is also great. But we need those comments. I think. I mean, we're told they're good. I don't really know if they are. But anyway, that's what's happening. Anyway, Doug, here's the one that has generated a discussion topic for us. Big Media Claus, one of our loyal listeners, says, "Sounds silly, but I've been struggling with consistently eating leafy greens. Would love if you guys could discuss that." So look at that. You leave a comment, very first topic the next day, we're discussing it. I think this was prompted by you saying that you had eaten greens for breakfast. Was it just one morning, or you?
No, it was like maybe. Well, today was probably 4 in a row.
Okay, and you have done that. How? Remind us.
A couple different ways. Today it was on a piece of sourdough toast with a little bit of Miyoko's cream cheese, and then some arugula that I had chopped up, and it was a mound of arugula. I would say, solid mound of arugula. Okay,
so leafy greens on toast with cream cheese. What's the other ways?
I mean, it's always been a variation of that. I had hummus the other day on a plain bagel with greens, and then I had this very thing 2 other times. So yeah, a variation of what of that.
Good.
But basically toast with the greens on top. But I will say, like, savory breakfast, we've talked about like lentil breakfast before. I was in a lentil kick for maybe a month, a couple weeks anyway. Mix some greens in with that. You could do a tofu scramble with some greens, like spinach in there, something like that.
Very good.
If you're sticking to the breakfast thing, I think that honestly, it's hard to do because it doesn't sound all that appealing, but it's always worth it. If you just throw some greens, like, it doesn't have to be fancy, don't have to add a whole bunch of toppings, anything like that. Just throw some greens in a bowl and a little bit of a decent dressing. And that can be a great snack or something you eat while you're cooking or at the beginning of dinner. I think people oftentimes, including myself, think about building a salad that requires chopping a whole bunch of vegetables and beans and all kinds of stuff. It doesn't have to be that. It can just be a bowl of greens with a dressing that you like, and then you're getting more greens that way.
Yes. So I like that. My household is divided over that. Whether to me a salad is simply some greens. You don't need anything else. You don't need to do more work to make the salad. Erin, and I think the kids would agree with her more. She thinks you got to chop up a bunch of things and have a lot of different textures and things in your salad. But to me, I don't know. Like I'm just going to eat way more of them if all it has to be is greens. And I honestly don't like it any less. In fact, maybe a little better because you don't have to chew much. It's just easier.
Right.
A lot of times I will, when I am cooking, get out the lettuce box or whatever the lettuce is stored in, or the arugula is stored in, and literally just eat it as you go. I think I eat as much that way as I would if I were doing a salad. I guess you could argue without the dressing, it's not going to deliver the nutrients quite as well, but I don't really know how true that is. But they do say that the fat in the dressing would transport those nutrients around. But yeah, that's definitely one. I mentioned that we had this pasta dinner the other night. That we put beans in the sauce, and beans were the sauce basically once they cook down and they kind of become nothing. They become liquidy almost. But we also stirred in arugula. That was part of the recipe. You stir in arugula when you toss the pasta in, and it just gets wilted down, and you kind of don't notice it. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So that's kind of how we have been recently doing it, just in that way. I have not. We've just been slacking on the salads. I don't ever eat greens for breakfast. I think at one point I was doing the breakfast salad idea, or maybe Aaron was, but I know that's a thing. People sometimes do that. The breakfast salad with like a sweet dressing, and you just start the day off with a bunch of raw veggies, and I guess you got to get calories somewhere, but that's not a terrible thing. It's not as crazy as it sounds. So I don't know, but I mean, to be honest, like maybe the X-Call said that it sounds silly, but I don't think it does sound silly. I think a lot of vegan eaters who, especially these days when there's a lot more processed junk available to vegans than there used to be, just don't eat that many leafy greens. And even in the old days, before all the processed junk, I think it's just still something. It's just not that easy to get. I've always said they're easy to get and they're very easy to not get because it's easy to make a dinner and not put the greens anywhere on the plate.
Yeah, so, I think it's Dr. Greger has a great quote, and I'm gonna probably get this slightly off, but I think it's so he recommends, I don't know, what is it, 5 servings a day of greens, something like that.
I don't know his number,
or it's 20 a week or something like that. I think it was 20 a week,
something like that,
and only
it's like 10% of Americans get that much in a month.
In a month, right? That's right. Yeah, it's not 10% get it in a week. The recommended amount a week. It's 10% get that in a month. Right. I mean, I mean, absolutely abysmal. And vegans probably aren't that much better, honestly. And it's easy to have that happen, right? I mean, we throw greens into basically every stir fry or whatever, but unless you're like in the habit of pulling out the greens to snack on them or make a small salad, then it's easy to forget about it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think what other tips I have. Taborlin99 says I toss spinach into my smoothie. By the way, I have not missed the fact that there are many people here some people here who aren't always here. So we'll go through those and give some shout outs in a minute. But I'm just trying to look right now for other greens tips. Spinach in the smoothie is a good one. It really does pretty much disappear in there. Some greens don't, but like I found that even the baby kale will just kind of not be noticeable in smoothies. I don't eat that many smoothies these days, so it's not that helpful to me now, but definitely a tip if you're doing that. And I mean, my favorite one was just like the habit of a daily salad, right? Like, because at least that's something. Like the habit of eat more greens is kind of hard to really stick with because it's just easy to forget about it or whatever. But like if you say I'm going to do a salad challenge and have one a month or one a day for a month, at least now there's like a little bit of a thing in your day, right? Like a thing for you to remember, to check the box, whatever. That is your time when you're going to eat a bunch of greens. So I think that's a good move. They are good. You just keep hearing more and more stuff about the greens. I know some of the people were going to say they have oxalates or whatever, and whatever. Maybe they do, but I don't hear too many people getting in trouble over that.
One thing that I do, and I don't even know how much is actually in it. It's probably a serving, maybe slightly less than a serving, but I love avocado. I eat a lot of avocado toast. People might shame me, think that that's not a vegan fruit, but it is, in my opinion. And
what was the reason why avocados aren't vegan?
Bees. I think it was the bees.
Had to do with bees somehow.
But what I like to do, because I do a lot of avocado toast, is just take some sort of green and just super finely chop it, and then mix that with the avocado. So not really making guacamole, but like just kind of greens and avocado, and then a little bit of olive oil, and then just spread that. And so it's thick, like the avocado holds the greens together, makes it a real easy spread. And I'm probably getting a full serving of greens with that. Way more than I would otherwise.
Never heard that one before. It's good. All right, Vegan Stallion says, I batch cook 6 pounds of frozen green in my Instant Pot and eat it over the course of the week. So that's always good. The cooking down is the way to really get a lot more in your diet. You don't get some of the raw benefit, but you get a ton more. I mean, it seems like they shrink down to 1/10 of their size when you cook them. So easy to get way more that way. And Vegan Stallion says, kale, collards, mustard greens, all 3 cruciferous, by the way, and avoids spinach. That's the one with the oxalates, he says. He's greens maxing. I'd like to eat greens max for a while. See what happens. See if you feel better. And there's Compliment Daily Greens. One more tip for getting your greens in, right, Doug? Is that on sale right at this moment?
It's not because we're out of stock. But you should join the wait list for when it gets back in stock.
Get on the wait list.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Good. All right. Hey, we got to be done by noon, right? Because that's what time the live is. So
ideally a few minutes before that. So let's.
Right. Good. Well, good morning to Britters, Anne Marie, Big Media S-Claus, the one who submitted the question. So there you go. Good vehicle for submitting questions. The YouTube comment box. Go over there and leave questions if you have stuff you want discussed. Lady draws a lot. Anne Marie, who's going to that 12 p.m. live.
All right.
Bianca's here. What a treat. Usually only Fridays, but she's here now because her work schedule is weird today. So look at that. Danielle P. listened to Dr. B on Planet Palooza. I didn't hear you promote Dr. B talking, Doug. When was that?
That was yesterday.
Did you say will be? I don't remember hearing you name a massive headliner.
I'm certainly did. You're probably off reading comments or something.
Yeah,
looking at our trolls.
Yeah.
No, he was yesterday, but you can still access it, of course. All week you get free access to these talks. So
At the end, are we going to say, hey, everyone, you can buy all the talks, lifetime access for $97 plus 100 bonuses?
Close. Right now, you can get it for $22.50.
Okay.
It's going to be $45. So act now to get that lifetime access.
All right, good. Jessica Goodenough's here. She's got another nugget in a bit. Mr. Jeffrey's here. We got some Canada stuff that will be pertinent to him. Scott Mulholland, Kate Taborlin, who I already mentioned with the spinach tip. Britters, I think I already said. Think now I'm repeating. They're all repeats. Yep, everyone.
Wait a minute. Mr. Jeffrey's birthday today.
Oh yeah, skip that. Sorry, I was busy.
Happy birthday, Mr. Jeffrey.
Definitely happy birthday. And where were you yesterday? Maybe you were celebrating your birthday yesterday because you weren't here. It was just shocking. All right, Jessica says Matt's in big trouble because she listened to old No Meat Athlete radio episodes. I don't know why anyone would do that, but if you want to, whatever. I'm not going to stop you. I listened to your book tour speech. Another one. I just don't know why anyone would do that now, but fine. I don't remember if that was a live recording from a book tour or if I just did it later, like a podcast version of it. And she says, now I want to qualify for Boston. So that's good. Yeah, that was the value of that talk. A lot of people did get inspired by it, which is good. Because I mean, it had some information, but generally that's what people got from it. Was they wanted.
How many people qualified from it? That's the question.
That is the question. Could have done more harm than good if I unleashed a bunch of people who wanted to do it.
Yeah, made people depressed and felt like failures. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think I missed Phyllis Hauser's name. Maybe I read it. But anyway, moving on. All right. And Matt O'Connor too, who left a comment yesterday on the thing, by the way. So thank you, Matt O'Connor, for that. All right. What else, Doug? I mean, that was kind of a lengthy introduction. Maybe we don't need more. Maybe we just get right into the weather report and then our content for the day. Unless you got something.
Nope. I am good to go.
All right. Good. Then let's do it. Here we go. Weather report. May 22nd. Here's what's going on in the plant-based and cultivated meat world. We're going to start calling this the plant-based and cultivated meat morning show. Iowa has become the third state jumping on the bandwagon, the dumb, bad idea bandwagon of limiting people's freedoms just to protect interests. But I'm no judgment here. They're passing legislation regarding the labeling of lab-grown meat and alternative meat products. So this, I don't mind so much. It doesn't sound like they are banning it. So that's good. But I'm not actually positive about that. Well, they want to exclude them from federal nutrition programs and things like that. But it doesn't sound like they're trying to ban it entirely. So actually, I don't mind this so much. They're mandating specific labeling requirements for lab-grown and plant-based imitation meat and egg products sold in the state. So this would apply to your beloved Just Egg, Doug. Again, not a ban, just labeling. Effective July 1st, so very quickly moving into law here. Products that include lab-grown meat and plant-based meat alternatives will need to be labeled with terms such as fake, lab-grown,
Fake?
meatless. Yeah, fake is good enough. You can put fake on there, and it's
Oh,
that's a pass.
what?
They're not saying you have to put fake. They're just saying you can. That's one choice. Lab-grown, meatless, imitation, or vegan. So I guess cultivated is not allowed, even though that is kind of the agreed upon term by the industry for these lab-grown products. And I do understand that, because to me, cultivated is not clear enough. You'd have to, like, if you just surveyed everybody right now in the world, I don't think most people would know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they said they don't want. They had some quotes about. Where is it? I can't find it, but they had some kind of condescending sort of quotes about these fake egg things or something that they were trying to make sure nobody accidentally bought. Oh yeah, fabricated egg products. They didn't want anyone accidentally buying fabricated egg products or cultivated protein food products. Anything else here? Let's see. They said the key provisions of the bill include the introduction of identifying meat terms and identifying egg terms. Not like the act of doing that, but that's the adjective. Identifying meat terms, which encompass words like beef, chicken, sausage, omelet, and mayonnaise. So I think they're saying that even those words would not be able to be said on the packaging of these new products, which is interesting, because I think currently you could say plant-based mayonnaise without any issue, right? Hellman's does that on.
I mean, how would you not do that? I mean, what would you even say? Plant-based white
plant-based bread
condiment?
Yeah, something spread, yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, that's the problem with these rules, is like then no one knows what it is, you know?
Right. If it adds confusion, that's not good. But what if it said fake mayonnaise? I know that's not the most appetizing sounding thing, but that is perhaps the most accurate term we could say. So if our stance is confusion, then that's not a terrible.
Well, then it goes back to what's the definition of mayonnaise?
An egg and an oil blend. That's pretty much it. Right. And I think it's pretty much defined by its ingredients.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. But okay. But hot dog, for example, or
right,
or hamburger or burger,
right.
You know. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the labeling debates can go on forever. I don't really know where I stand on what is the best move, but lots of countries are trying to figure that out, and now states too. So there you go. Violations from mislabeling these things, misbranding these, could result in civil penalties of up to $10,000. Which is a lot more than whatever the Florida one was. That was like $125 or something for messing that up. All right, moving on. Canadian news part 1. There's 2 Canadian newses today. A vegan burger chain from Canada is expanding into Florida with at least 40 new locations in the next 8 years. This is Odd Burger Corp. And they, I think, did this earlier in Washington. Or I know they said earlier they'd be opening 20 locations in Washington State. I think we talked about that on the morning show. That makes more sense because Canada is not a far jump to get down to Washington State. But all the way to Florida is interesting to me. I don't know what the deal is there. Snow bunny situation, perhaps. Yeah, they currently have 15 locations in Canada, mostly Ontario. I'm curious if Mr. Jeffrey has been here before. It's the average burger joint. That's what the menu mirrors, they say. They have a thing. The famous burger looks like a Big Mac. They also have a chicken sandwich, a Vopper, that's Vopper, and a Bacon famous melt. Plus secret sauce made of soy milk, French dressing, Dijon mustard, relish, oil, and vinegar. So sounds like a McDonald's type thing. I'd be curious to get an Odd Burger when I next go to visit my mom or
definitely
Disney
you
World.
should.
I definitely would, but I think it's going to be a while. I don't know when they're exactly coming. All right. Is Mr. Jeffrey telling us if he's been to Odd Burger? Haven't heard of them, he says. He's not in Ontario. Yeah. Florida's closer to Ontario than Washington State is. Yeah, that's true. I was thinking they were where he is, out west. But Ontario, of course, is where Toronto is, and that's on the east. Okay. Borland says there's going to be a pamphlet attached to all foods to comply with some of these labeling laws at some point. And that will be interesting if the amount of text required to explain things does increase. We'll see. Or maybe we just need QR.
Eventually you'll just like touch it and all of the data will just get like
just go into your head.
So yeah,
will appear in front of you, maybe like in a Google Glass situation. If you had a QR code on each thing. Or just augmented reality. Just get a little person could pop up and tell you about it.
I mean, eventually we're not even going to be eating food. So
no, just take one pill. get everything you need, nothing you don't. All right. In more mainstream meat news, kind of, Meatable, who is the company that scared you, Doug, when they announced that they had cut their production time for cultivated meat from 8 days down to 4.
That's right.
They've hired a new CEO, big-time CEO from the meat industry. His name's Jeff Tripishin. Jeff Tripishin, but his friends call him Trip. And he currently serves as the CEO for Grass-Fed Farms, which this says is a platform which provides grocers and food service customers a convenient turnkey solution to help sell grass-fed beef products in the U.S.
So like white labeling grass-fed beef, is that kind of what you're picking up?
Pretty much, yeah. That's the idea. They're just going to repackage that product, add the word cultivated to it, and sell it out, which we've said that can be an issue that might actually start happening, and we'll have to watch out for that. But anyway, they said they're focused on expanding into the U.S., this company, and on the heels of their planned commercial launch in Singapore, which, if you read further down the article, says that what they are doing in Singapore, they're actually opening a restaurant built around their cultivated meat products in Singapore, which would be really interesting. I didn't even consider that there might be that kind of restaurant happening in this industry, but I guess it might. Would you go to a cultivated meat restaurant, Doug?
Well, here's the question. Is it a restaurant that's like, I'm the cultivated meat restaurant? Or is it a restaurant that only serves cultivated meat? You know, what I could see is, your I don't know, standard Italian restaurant or whatever just says, you know what, we're going to only serve cultivated meat. This fits our values better or whatever. And so we're just going to do that. But I wouldn't call that a cultivated meat restaurant. Maybe I would. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, maybe it's just served. Maybe it's like a butchery, and they just have all kinds of meat products of all kinds, but it's all cultivated. So they have even more meat than you typically would get at a restaurant, but it's all cultivated in this case. I don't know. That's a very good point. Question. Maybe it's not a cultivated. Yeah, maybe they're just going to open a regular restaurant and it'll happen to have cultivated meat all over it. Anyway, so there you go. There's your weather report. Nothing else there. But here's the headline that caught my eye today, and this one does involve Canada. From Yahoo News, study shows replacing single food from your diet with alternative could increase your life expectancy. Considerable benefits for health is the quote that they then put in the headline. All right, so this McGill University, is that in Canada? It must be, because the other article I read about it just acted like this had so much to do with the new Canadian food guidelines. Yes, McGill is in Canada. What I didn't know is that there are new Canadian food guidelines. Did you know this, Doug?
No.
Yeah. So let me find the article here. The latest, it's called Canada's Food Guide. And maybe Mr. Jeffrey can tell about this. I tried to download this in a hurry right before the start of the show, and once I saw this name, but I couldn't find it. It sounds to me, from what I'm understanding, like Canada's new food guide is basically saying the plant meats belong in your diet, that there's a place for them, these substitutes in your diet, and it is preferable to regular meat in some cases. So I don't have time to figure that all exactly out. I will look into it later, unless Mr. Jeffrey knows now to tell us that. But that's what seems to have prompted this research from McGill University, and they did it in conjunction with the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. I don't know why that school is still called that, but they worked together. And what they found with this study was that substituting plant proteins for even half of a person's red or processed meat intake could extend their lifespan by nearly 9 months. What they found also was that it had to do with sex. It would for men, the benefit would be twice as much. So that would be 18 months, a year and a half.
Or is 9 months the average?
That's a good question. It says, yeah, that's a good question. Maybe it's more like, I don't know,
12 and 6.
7 and 14 or something like that. Yeah, 12 and 6. So yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Didn't look at the actual study to figure that out, but kind of sounds interesting. I need to look deeper at this and see, did they actually do any studying to figure this out? Like, did they actually do any sort of clinical trial? I don't really think so. I think it's more of a theoretical. Like, if we know that red and processed meat, bring on these certain diseases, what would happen if people ate half as much? And we therefore assume that the plant proteins don't cause these things, which we can, I think the current studies would say that they don't. And then we just sort of infer that you get this amount of life extension from it. So I don't know that answer. I would like to actually know that. But that's, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So, and also dairy, by the way, dairy wasn't mentioned in these articles, but in the actual study, what I'm looking at right at this second, it says replacing the dairy would increase life expectancy by 7.6 months for that one. And these do look like averages. So I think that 9 was an average for men and women. They also talk a lot about what it would do for the greenhouse gas emissions and things like that. But yeah, I don't think anybody really cares about that.
I got a question for you, Matt.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna do a lightning round, and I want everybody to jump in here.
Okay.
Of things that you would, if someone said, if you give this up for the rest of your life,
right,
you'll live a year longer.
It's definitely the obvious question, which I had the same question right away. But okay, go for it, Doug.
Okay.
Let's hear
All right. You'll live let's go ahead and define it as a productive, happy year longer, right? So not like bedridden.
Right. Okay. A good solid year of life.
Good solid year of life. Would you give up alcohol?
No.
I think I'm with you. Would you give up Beyond or like fake meats?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page there. Would you give up, let's say, this is kind of a weird one, but would you give up like fitness or like I don't know, workouts and things like
that? So I get to never work out again, but I only.
But you live a year longer, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the whole reason you work out, isn't it? To live longer.
No, I see. I would be a no on that. I get too much joy from running and stuff.
I would love to not do that stuff. Although then, if you're gonna look all, flabby your whole life, that wouldn't be good.
All right. What do you have? What do you have for me?
Would you give up burritos?
For a year of life.
You can never eat a taco or burrito again in your life, but you get a whole extra year guaranteed.
But can I eat nachos?
No.
No? No Tex-Mex at all?
You can't just swap them in and eat tons of them all the time, every time instead of burritos, because that would make you live less.
Uh-huh. I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, maybe.
The easiest one of all, to skip a burrito.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe
I would. To begin with, it's not like it's a great food. It's just sort of convenient.
It is a great food, man. That's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. Pizza. What about pizza?
Yeah, I could give up pretty much any food, I think. Well, pasta. Pasta I'd have trouble with.
Pasta.
I wouldn't do that one.
Yeah, I would give up a lot of different foods, I think, but not all of them. I mean, I'd want some joy, because the thing is, like, I'm probably doing so many things now that are taking away a year of my life that I'm choosing to do anyway. Or I guess not doing things that I would probably add a year to my life, right? Like, I could be fitter, I could be eat more greens, I could do all those things, and that would probably collectively add a year to my life, and I'm still choosing not to do it, right? So,
right.
But if someone definitively said, if you don't do this, if you don't,
right.
I don't know. Watch
That's
TV.
the thing. It's with this certainty. That's what's missing in the real world, right? Like, because if I told you that if you stop drinking alcohol, you're guaranteed to live some amount less or more by giving it up, I'd be more likely to take that. Right? 1 year's not enough, but if you told me 2, 3, 4, 5 years guaranteed, but the thing is, it's not guaranteed, right? Like, I think there's probably an expectation you live slightly longer if you give it up, but who knows how it's going to turn out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the sake of this argument, though, we're talking about guaranteed.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
TV. Last one. TV.
Vegan Science says 1 year is not much inducement. I think that's kind of the point. Is this really not very much time? And that's why I take out. Right, if you tell me 10 years, of course I'm trading in alcohol. I'll gladly take the extra decade of life. But 1 year just is not that long.
Yeah, as Jessica says, if I gave up tacos and burritos, I wouldn't be Doug.
No,
it's true. I mean, I got to be true to myself, Matt. Okay,
that's right. You'd be giving up your soul basically for 1 more year of life.
Give up who I am.
Yeah. All right. Jessica would give up smoking, but she doesn't smoke.
Your
Yeah.
car?
With more time, we could think of a lot more things that would be really interesting. Give up a car for a year of my life? No way.
Yeah. What about? I mean, not your kids, but like, all right. So here's an interesting thing. Like, what if before you had kids, and I mean, it quite possibly maybe should, no. I bet that having kids makes you live longer. No, I don't know.
No, can't. No
No.
way. The sleep
Okay.
alone would ruin that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But if someone said, when you were thinking about having kids, if they said, all right, if you have kids now, you're going to die 10 years earlier,
Mm-hmm.
or you can not have kids and live 10 years longer. Like
10?
I think 10. Now we're talking about a decade. A year, no, definitely not. But yeah, 10. Like in my 20s, I probably would have spent a long time thinking about it. Of course, now I cannot imagine life without my kids. Yeah,
you can't entertain it now because you have the children.
Mhm.
But
yeah, I'm not going to go on record on a live podcast. So yeah, I'd give up.
Okay, how about this one? Your kids each, you get to live one more year and it's guaranteed. Your kids live 1 month less each and it's guaranteed for this swap. So,
Whoa!
there's a net gain.
Man,
There's a
dude,
net gain of 10 months
that's
here.
terrible. Oh no!
Net gain of 10 months for humanity. It's just you're taken from the kids.
Oh man, that's terrible. No.
Your kids might want you to do that deal. They might like that. They might say, "Yeah, I'd give up 1 month of my life for my dad to have an extra 1 year," because you get that year with them. It benefits them.
Right. I don't know. I'd leave that up to the kids, though. I think I wouldn't want to take life away from my kids. No way. I can't even entertain that. But
I think I'd do that deal if my dad came along and said, "I have an offer for you, and here's the devil, and we made this deal, and are you into it?" I'd do that.
I mean, Katie and I were talking last night. We were kind of going through our parents and guessing how much longer they'd live. Yeah, I mean, of course, like a month. I would give up a month of my life because I'm going to live to be 115 anyway. So like, what's a month?
All right,
for next year.
So back to the actual topic. If you went to any meat eater, I mean, Garuda's not here, so he can't answer for us. Is anyone going to be swayed by this study and say, "Oh man, 9 more months of life, and I just need to give up half of my red or processed meat"? I think a lot of people would be overjoyed to hear that they can keep eating that half of red, the whole amount that they currently are, and they only lose 9 months of life from it. So I don't think it's going to do anything for anybody.
I think you're right about that. I think that it's just not enough time.
No. All right. This study did also find there is a trade-off, but I guess this trade-off is already factored into the amount of extra time you get to live. They said that you had a 14% increase. It's an increase in calcium deficiencies by 14%. So you get these small increases in lifespan, but you do lose out on calcium by 14%. I don't know if that means 14% of the people, or there's a 14% increase in the amount of people who are calcium deficient, or if everybody just has 14% less calcium. Not really sure how that one works, but again, I think it's already factored into the life expectancy, so wouldn't be too upset about that. But I guess get broken bones or something. I don't know. By the way, they
you got to take your vitamin D Complement Essential up to 30% off today and this week at Plants Palooza. Take your vitamin D, that will help you absorb the calcium.
Yeah, good. You can take care of that issue. This study did model, it says partial replacements 25 and 50% of the red processed meat or dairy, and they've swapped in things like nuts, seeds, legumes, tofu, and fortified soy beverages. So I don't see the thing that says swapping in the plant-based alternative. Like they're calling these foods plant-based alternatives. So I think I maybe mistitled this episode when I said swapping in plant-based meats increases life expectancy. That's actually not true. It's swapping in alternatives, and those alternatives are nothing like the thing you're giving up. They're just different foods, nuts, legumes, tofu, etc. So I guess some meats are made out of tofu, though, some plant-based meats. So we can say it's that. All right,
that transitions as well to this next article.
Yeah, Mr. Jeffrey, by the way, let us know if you're still here about the Canada Food Guide thing. I really want to know what Canada, if they say you're supposed to eat plant-based meats now, or maybe this is about these other plant-based alternatives that I mentioned. That would be much more likely. But I don't think it is that, because I think something alluded to like saying, but do people really know what this plant-based meat's going to do to people's lives? Anyway, we'll talk about that later on, perhaps. On to the next one. The article from Dotsie Bausch. This is just a good, wholesome article. It's not about plant-based meats. It's not about cultivated meat. And it's in foodinstitute.com, which is actually a big-time website. It's one of the ones that I look at most days, along with fooddive.com, and it's an industry place. But they've got Dotsie Bausch, Olympic silver medalist. She's a cyclist. Won silver. I don't know if she's been in more than one Olympics. I think so. But anyway, the 2012 Olympic Games when she won her medal. And she's still out there doing the thing, promoting this lifestyle.
Switch for Good. She's the founder of Switch for Good.
Switch for Good, who I mentioned this last year, but my son's soccer team, they just played against Inter Atlanta, and Inter Atlanta still has as their primary sponsor right across the front of the jersey, Switch for Good.
No way.
I like them for that reason.
And a little teaser. Day 3 of Plantapalooza. Tomorrow, Dotsie Bausch is coming on for an interview.
It's as if we planned that.
She's got a great story and lots of really good advice. So be sure to check that out tomorrow.
Yes. And by the way, she won that medal as a plant-based, right? Yeah. So 2.5 years after she went plant-based, when she went to a whole food vegan diet, that's when she won that medal. So anyway, the question for her, of course, is where do you get your protein? And she gave some answers that you don't usually see. Number 1, smoked tempeh. Fermented soy. So I don't know. I mean, I can't get smoked tempeh. If I could get that, I might like it a lot more. Or maybe she smokes it herself. Probably not. But I could see that actually being pretty good. Nutritional yeast. Is this actually protein? Yeah. Okay. It happens to be super high in protein. I didn't realize that. I knew it was high in B12 because it's fortified with them. She says it's wonderfully cheesy, easy goodness to put on top of things. That's what I make my sprinkled Parmesan out of. That and cashews. So that's my main source for nutritional yeast, which Dr. Greger says will help fight off colds. I don't know if it helps you prevent from getting them or shortens the duration, but he says it's been shown to help with that kind of stuff.
Two tablespoons of nutritional yeast has 8 grams of protein.
Okay. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it is. That's a solid amount. Soy milk. She says, like all day long, just glasses of soy milk. That's what we said we don't do at all. But she does. And look at her. She's winning silver medals. You and I aren't doing that, Doug, at all.
We're not.
Not at all.
No, we are not.
She said, you're going to have all the wonderful macro and micronutrients without the trans fat, without the saturated fat, without the plethora of strong pregnant mother hormones in your milk, which I guess is what you'd be getting if you were to drink cow's milk. And it does have a lot of protein compared to the other plant milk. Soy milk always seems to have a lot. All right. Red lentils, she says, that's my sneaky sneak because they are super versatile. They're packed with protein like most of all the lentils. You can bake them in recipes like bread and crepes and the taste won't show up. I like that idea. I like the idea of making breads with legumes in them. Never tried it, but I'm curious. And I mentioned yesterday that I like the red lentils better than the brown or green lentils because they lose their shape in the curries and things that you make. So that's nice. You get a better stew porridge kind of consistency instead of eating a bunch of little seeds. And then high protein pastas. And she mentions by name Explore Cuisine is one of them. I don't think I've ever heard of that one. We use that Barilla Plus still, which has like, I don't know, some extra protein in it, but it's still like the other part that's not high protein has a few different legumes and things in it. The other part is just good old semolina flour. So it still tastes good. It tastes actually like white pasta, more like white pasta than whole wheat pasta does. But on the downside, you're getting basically half of it is like white pasta. So
yeah, we've been on like a lentil pasta and black bean pasta kick for a while. But they just never tasted all that good. I could never like the room for error, the margin for error was huge. And you know, if you cooked it just right, it would be pretty good. But then the next day, if there was leftovers, it would be mushy and gross.
Yeah.
So we've switched over to the Barilla Protein Plus as well, which is basically just like white pasta with a little bit of protein. It's not an enormous amount of protein, but probably 2 or 3 times what traditional pasta has.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. We went through that kick like everybody else did. I don't know. Trader Joe's makes a decent red lentil thing. It's kind of like a penne shape. That one's okay. But you're right. You have to cook them exactly the right amount of time. There's not room for error. And they're not really good the next day. They're not even that good that day. Like even if you get it right, it's just not the same. It tastes a little different or the texture's different. And like, I don't know, something about pasta. I just want it to be the real thing. So I'm good with whole wheat pasta. I can still kind of tell myself that's real. Maybe it's all a story in my head because I do hear sometimes about pastas and things that are made from these things like originally, made from chestnut flour or whatever. But I've never tried to make one. But I don't know. If I could believe it's like the authentic way to eat this certain dish, then I could be into it. But in general, just not a fan of these legume pastas.
Fit Nessie says there's a big plant-based channel selling their own unfortified nooch as nooch without dangerous synthetic vitamins. Interesting.
That is interesting because like everyone talks about the B12 in
right
nutrition yeast as if like, and I think
that's why vegans tried to do that or like got on board with it.
Yeah, I mean people people want salt without the iodine in it, even though the iodine's supposedly there to make it healthier. As like a public health thing. So yeah, that's actually an interesting thing. I might buy that. I mean, if it wasn't that much more expensive, I think I'd rather have that than have the extra B12 in there. I don't need extra. I'm taking that from Compliment. I like to know the amount.
I mean, I know this is gonna be a little controversial. It's gonna be a hot take.
Okay.
Because I know vegans love nooch.
They do.
And for the cheesy texture or whatever, but I don't know. I don't feel like it adds that much. Like I use it, I add it to pasta maybe 2 or 3 times a week or something like that. But it's not like I'm all the time a nooch lover.
No, I'm with
like the whole part of the whole reason is because of the B12. I don't know. And what it's
that's the reason you use it.
I mean, not really. I mean, I never because I also take Complex Essentials has a B12, but like that's kind of why we got in the habit of using it. Is like everyone's like, "Oh, you're vegan, you should get nutritional yeast."
Right.
I don't know. Like I don't think I would use it very much of it. I'm not drawn to an unfortified version at all, really.
I actually didn't. My perception was that people use it because they think it tastes like cheese, and it does a little bit. I never ever would just put straight up nooch on my food. I just don't. Like I use it in recipes. I use it in our Parmesan sprinkle, where to me it doesn't really taste like nutritional yeast does. But I would never just like spoon it on something. It just doesn't. It's just not good enough to me. I just don't like it that much. So yeah, it's interesting about the B12. I just never looked at a source. Like I'd rather get it from a source where I know exactly how much I'm getting, so I know that I'm getting enough.
Yeah, right.
It just seems unreliable to do
that. We got some nooch lovers here. Bianca says, "Oh wait, hold on, did the wrong one." Bianca says, "They keep getting comments. Move it up. I would snort it up my nose. I would snort nooch up my nose. Love that stuff." Right. Anne-Marie says she gets Nooch-alicious, which is also unfortified. Scott says he loves it on popcorn. We do that. I forgot about that.
I've never done that. Let's give it a try.
That's good. Vegan Stallion says I literally just bought a 10-pound bag of it. Oh my god.
We're not the same. That's not what I do at all. Just almost never ever use it, except in my cheesy sprinkle. Okay. Anyway, Datsy Bausch likes it, and maybe that's good enough for everybody. I looked up this Explore Cuisine. I think I have probably tried this brand before. It looks kind of familiar. Maybe some sort of free sample or something somewhere. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm just not sold on it. But it's okay. I don't hate the pasta. And now and then we will do that. Okay. Was there any more in this article, or is that the last of it? No, that's it. Oh, she does mention balancing intake. Her quote here about this is how much protein do you need? Because everyone thinks you need more protein. More protein is good. That story has not gone away or changed at all. Like people made fun of that in 2013 and earlier. This idea that like everyone asks how much protein you get and you really don't need that much. But like I feel like more and more people think you need protein and you need more of it. You need lots of it. She says protein is an important macronutrient, but you absolutely have to work it. So I don't know what that means. Furthermore, consuming too much, quote, could be a big kidney issue. I always hear people go to this and say, if you get too much, kidney issue. I just never, ever hear of someone who had a kidney issue because they got too much protein. And maybe it's not known and it can't be definitively said, well, it's because you had too much protein. But I just don't hear about that happening. So I just don't know if it's true. Like I would think if it was a kidney issue, you'd hear a lot more people saying, watch out for that. Don't, right? People who aren't vegans saying, well, yeah, I don't try to get that much protein because I'm worried about my kidneys. But no one does. So I'm just questioning that one. Even from a silver medalist. All right. Anyway, we got to go because that Planet Palooza interview with who's right now, Doug? Is it Rick?
Dr. Dan Kandau.
Dan Kandau, world expert on creatine. foremost expert.
Yep, that's happening in 10 minutes live.
At lovecompetent.com, you can still go to that link and find it.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. You have to register and get there. But yeah, you can still do that. But if you're listening to this on the podcast, which most people end up doing or listening to it later, go to Love Compliment, join the free VIP list, and you can get all the replays and get all the interviews. Still do it all week.
We should have, in all the marketing, made the Plant-Based Morning Show slot the warm-up, like the opening act for all this stuff.
Ooh, wouldn't that have been
That could
good?
have gotten us a lot more people in here and got everyone ready for the main event.
Next year.
Then we'd have to actually be good, though, and like do serious shows. We couldn't just prepare for it in the 2 minutes before it starts like we did today.
Yeah. It was 11 o'clock. It was time to turn it on by the time I pulled up the pre-read today, which is not typical.
No, I think it was because of all this stuff going on, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Well, that's it. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Fun. Always fun. Tomorrow's the last morning show of the week. I think we're doing a show Friday this week, but I do need to check on that because we've got some unavailability on your part, Doug, at least.
That's right. And just to confirm so that it's everyone understands, you would give up a month of your kid's life to extend your life by a year. Is that what I understood?
I'd go ahead and assume that they would like that they would want that. For their sake,
right.
I would do it. It would hurt me to do it, but for them, I would do that.
Uh-huh. All right.
All right. That's it. You know what? We need to, after I end it, we need to stay on here for a second because they keep cutting off really early on the recording. So we're going to hit end. No, we're going to stop talking for a second and then we're going to end it. So bye, everybody.